politically correct people is that they're too busy hating themselves to see the real injustices occurring in the world. Ravi Crux.
In 2014, Laverne Cox said that misgendering trans people is an act of violence. Since then, she has repeated this statement multiple times, but some people still don't want to believe it.
Why is it every time Legolas puts up a video, I feel like I'm being prepared for a lobotomy?
So I thought I'd explain why intentionally misgendering trans people is an act of violence and why you shouldn't do it.
So tell me, Legolas, exactly which chart am I supposed to follow so that I'm not getting arrested by the UN for committing a hate crime? Is it this one? Or this one? Or that one? Which one is going to satisfy your snowflake ass?
Or trans people, but it's particularly dehumanizing when done to trans people, and it's something that basically all trans people have to deal with at some point.
Hey, numbnuts, of course people are going to have trouble figuring out your gender as long as you have a throat that looks like it's smuggling a golf ball.
To define, several dictionaries say that it involves the use of physical force, including the Merriam-Webster and Oxford dictionaries. However, dictionaries are not intended as all-knowing, unchangeable rulebooks. They change and adapt over time as our usage changes.
Let me guess, this is the portion of the show where you dig through as many dictionaries as you possibly can until you find a definition that's suitable for your narrative. According to my dictionary, your gender is asshole.
The WHO defined violence as the intentional use of physical force or power, threatened or actual, against oneself, another person, or against a group or community that either results in or has a high likelihood of resulting in injury, death, psychological harm, maldevelopment, or deprivation.
So basically what Jay and Silent Bob's twin sister is telling you, that if you misgender someone, you are likely to cause injury, death, psychological harm, maldevelopment, or deprivation. I would offer this person a new set of balls, but they'd likely chop them off anyways.
Given that this is the definition that experts on the topic of violence have come up with, I would argue that it's a much better and more effective definition than the one currently listed in most dictionaries. Therefore, violence does include psychological violence, and misgendering a trans person is absolutely an act of psychological violence.
So by calling misgendering violence, you are attempting to legislate free speech. Well, in this country, we have the right to call anyone anything we want. And if you have a problem with that, you should grab a mirror and find out where the source of your problems are.
Lots of factors contribute to the extraordinarily high rates of suicide among transgender people, but misgendering is definitely one of them. According to the 2014 National Transgender Discrimination Survey, 4.6% of the US population reported that they have attempted suicide at some point in their life, while that number was about 41% for trans people.
So even though the discrimination theory doesn't even hold up when you compare it to other segments of the population, Riley fails to mention that of course people who suffer from a mental illness such as this are going to have an extremely high suicide rate.
However, studies show that having a supportive family, like people who don't misgender you, can greatly reduce that rate. The 2015 US transgender study found that the rate of suicide attempts for trans people with unsupported families was 54%. While it was 37% for those with supportive families.
So you're trying to tell me that suicide rates are lower when you're surrounded by people who share your delusion? There's a fucking shocker. Accepting a delusion because the person telling you they are not suffering from a delusion does not help anybody. It merely harms the person suffering from a delusion. You could easily go through the rest of this video making fun of every phrase or statement that is being used. But the realization that I came to is that this video is just sad. It is an attempt to control what we think as free people, because there is a segment of people shared in a delusion who think that we should accept that delusion. It's unfortunate, and I feel for these people as human beings, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend like something is when it is not. And I'm certainly not going to accept a person that attempts to use the same tactics as thought police in George Orwell's 1984 to tell me how to think and what to speak. Hey guys, Ravi Crux here. I realize that there are a ton of people that do these types of videos, but I thought I would take a shot at it and see where it went. Really appreciate you tolerating that. If you like the way I think, like the types of things that I'm putting out there, please subscribe. You can find me on Gab, on Twitter, on YouTube, and on vid.me. I'm new to this, so bear with me as I get better and better with these things. But I wanted to get on the net now and get my voice heard. If you're all about free speech, add me up.